Boeing Whistleblower. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I heard something about this. I heard there was a mysterious death that was ruled as suicide. I did not really see very many people cover this. There's a lot of drama, a lot of political noise, a lot of other things, and I think this just kind of got lost in the sauce. Or there may not be much there, but I found an interesting World Socialist website article, and then an adjunct to that from Decensored News, who found something on Yahoo News that we should look at. So I don't know if you heard about this guy, John Barnett, Mitch Barnett.
A little bit.
All right, so John Barnett, let's just say, Mitch Barnett. Okay, that's his nickname, right? 62-year-old former employee of the aerospace corporation Boeing, right? Publicly traded aerospace defense contractor, was declared a suicide 2 days after he was found dead in a truck parked in a hotel parking lot. There are ample reasons, obviously, to question this narrative. Now, at the time, he was in the middle of a deposition in Charleston in which he was providing testimony for a civil case that he was pursuing against Boeing. So we're going to hear what happened here. He worked for Boeing as a quality manager for most of his 32-year career, during which he raised many serious questions about the safety of Boeing's 787 Dreamliner commercial aircraft. That's like the big monster. It's got, I think, 10 seats or 11 seats across. All right, 3 seats, 4 seats in the middle, and 3 seats on either side. It's a monster. All right, huge first-class cabin. They can pack a ton of people in there, and it flies internationally.
Not quite an Airbus, but, you know.
Right? So the suit charges Boeing with harassing him on the job, stalling any promotions, and ultimately forcing him to leave the company 10 years before he planned to retire. Well, why? Because he was screaming about... So he was in a Netflix documentary about Boeing last year, but he completed 2 days of his deposition, and according to his lawyers, he was tired but committed to giving his third and final day. And when he didn't arrive in court on March 9th, didn't answer the phone, his lawyers called the hotel where he was staying to check on him, and they found him dead with a gunshot wound to his head. In his car, I believe. Charleston County coroner ruled that the cause of death was a self-inflicted gun wound. Okay.
Sure.
And the police report stated that officers had found a white piece of paper resembling a note near his body. However, his lawyers immediately challenged the claim that their client's death was a suicide and released a statement about it, right? That they didn't see an indication that he would take his own life. No one can believe it. Charleston police need to investigate this fully and accurately and tell the public no detail can be left unturned.
Yeah.
All right. So then a more revealing comment came from one of the Barnett family friends, Jennifer, who told the ABC affiliate that Barnett had warned her that if anything happens to me, it's not suicide. All right. Oh, great. And now we're going to get the warning put up, by the way, by Yahoo, by YouTube automatically. If you mention that word, so he did not want to.
Yep.
He was not interested in taking his own life. He wanted to clear this story. And so Jennifer's stunning revelation would, in a world based on reason, justice, and the protection of the public, be the starting point for investigations into other causes of his death, potentially. But instead, corporate media has, for the most part, failed to report her statement, even as it continues to report on various near disasters involving Boeing planes. How about that over the last several months? Now, those are 737 Maxes. This is a 787 Dreamliner. However, there was also a report about from Al Jazeera, where they went into this Dreamliner factory in South Carolina and interviewed 15 people, and 10 of them said they wouldn't fly in one. Right? It's worth contrasting his death, and this is interesting, and its aftermath, to that of Russian opposition politician Alexei Navalny, who was found dead in his jail cell in February. The news outlets, right? What?
What?
Wrong.
Oh, okay. Right. Well, in this case, the news outlets, along with President Joe Biden wasted no time declaring with no evidence that Navalny's death was the work of Russian President Vladimir Putin. Yet,
because Putin's a madman.
well, yeah, and he would also say the same thing, and then he pulled a fire, and then he pull a fire alarm. But
fire alarm, yeah.
Right? Yet, when there's more evidence, more than enough evidence to suggest foul play in regard to a whistleblower against Boeing, the evidence is ignored. Why? Well, we all know why. Barnett had a history of speaking out against Boeing's dangerous and negligent practices after he left the company in 2017. In a variety of interviews, he described how Boeing compromised quality control in a manner that was catastrophic for passengers on Boeing planes.
Yep.
Okay. The overriding goal, according to Barnett, was to make the cash register ring. What a surprise. Oz the Boomer, welcome. Good to see you.
Oz.
It's Oz.
Here.
I love Oz.
Yeah, we all love Oz. In an interview with the Corporate Crime Reporter, by the way, that is the outlet that the Ralph Nader organization offshot. I think it's Russell Mokhiver is the host of that podcast. Barnett exposed the role of Boeing's military connections inherited from its merger with McDonnell Douglas in 1997. So he says, quote, the entire team came down from the military side and their motto was, we're in Charleston, we can do anything we want. They started pressuring us not to document defects, to work outside procedures, to allow defective material to be installed without being corrected. No problem there. The most infamous disasters of the Boeing aircraft remain the deadly crashes of the 737 MAX 8 planes in October 2018 and March 2019, which killed all 346 passengers and crew aboard the two planes combined. They didn't crash.
You know what they
Go ahead.
You know what they haven't looked into?
A lot of things.
Enough is enough. I have had it with these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane.
Yeah,
It had to be. It had to be snakes.
Well,
It had to be.
Yeesh.
Why have we not looked into this?
Well, according to this, both crashes were caused by a relatively unknown piece of software, the Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System. Right? It's so mundane you don't even know how to say it right. Leaked documents and congressional hearings revealed that Boeing's leadership knew that MCAS could cause crashes by forcing a plane into a nosedive, overriding pilot control. Holy shit.
Oh, great. Exactly what we needed.
The corporate giant, nevertheless,
exactly what the planes
went
needed.
ahead. They went ahead with the installation of the software on all of its new planes. Of course they did. Why? Probably delivery time frames. Top management also went out of its way to conceal the existence of the system from pilots, airlines, and regulators. Of course they did, until it was forced to after the first crash. Ask for forgiveness rather than permission. Regulators. So, but even then, Boeing insisted that the MAX 8 planes were safe until the second crash, which of course triggered the global grounding of the aircraft. And a huge loss for Boeing's shareholders, which is all they really gave a shit about in the first place. Let's call it for what it was. Right? So, no executives were ever tried for the crime of developing and deploying a defective, deadly aircraft. Go figure. Federal investigations let then CEO Dennis Muhlenberg and current CEO David Calhoun off the hook. Go figure.
Yeah.
Muhlenberg made more than $80 million during his time as CEO. Calhoun made $22.5 million just in 2022 alone. Nice. Well, look, it's not all about the 787 Dreamliner and the 737B Max, whatever the hell these things were.
Clearly all about the Benjamins.
Yeah, but
clearly
they had other planes, is my point. Like, this guy oversaw a lot more than just the fuck up of these two planes. There was a lot that went right at Boeing, and they made a ton and a shitload of profit and defense contractors and stuff that we never even hear about because it was for the military. Here we go. Boeing plays a massive role in the American economy and in the U.S. military-industrial complex. Here we go. It is one of the country's largest manufacturers and exporters, and it is a key supplier of the vast sums of war materiel purchased by the U.S. government. Materiel. I think that's probably a typo. I don't know. Nobody should doubt that it's capable of defending its profits and the interests of American imperialism by any means necessary, including the silencing of a troublemaker. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Barnett is not the first to come to a suspicious end just before providing potentially damning evidence against a critical force in American capitalism. Journalist Michael Hastings famously was found dead after crashing into a tree at 100 miles an hour while investigating then CIA Director John Brennan. Huh.
Took the, oh, now I'm going to be upset that I can't remember the name. Comedian ran a Ferrari into a tree. It starts with a K.
Kevin Hart?
No, didn't run a Ferrari into a tree.
Oh. Who ran a
Kennison.
Sam Kennison. Okay. Yeah, well, okay. So Michael Hastings' last story, Why Democrats Love to Spy on Americans, was published by BuzzFeed 11 days before he died in 2013.
Of course.
And then, of course, we've got
11 days before he died.
Yep. And then, of course, we've got Seth Rich.
Well,
yep.
And McAfee. I was going to talk about McAfee, too.
Oh, John McAfee. Yep. John McAfee's a whole other story. But then you've got Seth Rich, thought to be behind the leak of 20,000 emails from the DNC showing extraordinary corruption in favor of Hillary Clinton's campaign, was shot in an apparent mugging in 2016. What they don't say in the right there is who they think Seth Rich gave those articles to, potentially. Thought to be.
Yeah.
And that would be one, Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. Free Julian Assange right now. And then, of course, the creepiest motherfucker on the planet, and we still don't know who any of his clients were, financier and sex trafficker, allegedly Jeffrey Epstein, not allegedly, actually convicted sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, was found dead, of course, in his jail cell, hung after with a paper T-shirt, after investigators into his business threatened to reveal sordid connections to high-level executives and politicians in the U.S. around the world. So now we're up to speed on exactly how people just mysteriously end up dead, even within the federal penitentiary system. In every case, a story is worked out by the corporate media that is politically palatable for the bourgeoisie. Car crash, robbery gone wrong, suicide by hanging, suicide by gunshot. There is no serious investigation or follow-up, whether by the police or those purporting to call themselves journalists, because they're corporate stenographers. There can be no doubt that Barnett had more to say that would have further exposed the criminality of Boeing's leadership and of American capitalism as a whole. The commercial and military aircraft giant remains in business only because it is protected at every level by federal regulators whose penalty for deadly practices amount to less than a wrist slap, and politicians who design laws allowing the production of machines as complex as aircraft with essentially no oversight. Because who the hell's going to oversee it? Who's going to oversee it?
Yeah. Who watches the watcher?
Well, no, it's not just who watches the watcher. Who has the technical know-how to know whether they're doing it right or not? Other than the people doing it themselves, who are the most expert at it in the world. Usually.
Very nice, my boy.
Seriously. These forces serve Wall Street bankers and corporate executives who compromise the oligarchy in the U.S. and internationally. Of course they do. For them, the waging of war and extraction of profit towers above questions of safety and the protection of human life. Profit over people is their way. That is their way. We know. I was listening to Charlie Robinson's podcast recently. That is Macroaggressions. That's available on Spotify, over on the Rockfin. He's on Rumble. He's also a member of Union of the Unwanted. I like Charlie a lot. He's fun. And he was talking about George H.W. Bush and what a ruthless motherfucker that guy was. And how he had no problem ordering the downing of an entire commercial aircraft with hundreds of people on board if he knew that one person there could potentially be dangerous to an operation that he was involved with. And, well, he just kind of shrugged that stuff off as cost of doing business. And
don't fuck with us or we'll rip your nuts off.
Basically, that's him. So, like I said, Decensored News also picked something. And Yahoo News, to their credit, the night before this World Socialist website article was published, Yahoo News last Saturday night published this article from Sean Tully out of Fortune. and Decensored, subscribe to them on Substack and everywhere. Wow. Per his lawyers, whistleblower John Barnett wanted to drive home on the eve of his death after testifying against Boeing, but Boeing's lawyers put him in a position where he had to stay overnight again in Charleston. And then he was found dead in his truck in the hotel parking lot in the morning. So these are the screen caps. They saved us the trouble of reading this very long article, and I'll link to the description, to this in the description, which will link to the Fortune article. The previous day, Barnett had been on a roll as a video camera recorded the event. He was really happy to be telling his side of the stories, excited to be fielding our questions, doing a great job. It was explosive stuff. As I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, this is the best witness I've ever seen. And at one point, his lawyer said that the Boeing lawyer protested that Barnett was reciting the details of incidents from a decade ago with specific dates without looking at documents. And as Turkovitz, his lawyer, recalls the exchange, Barnett fired back, "I know these documents inside out. I've had to live it." Which just made the questioner look ridiculous. So what happened? So that Friday, Barnett's testimony ended around 5. John was really tired, didn't want to testify anymore. He wanted to drive home to Louisiana starting that evening as he'd planned. He told his mom he'd be home on Sunday, that it took him 2 days to drive home. I suggested that we break for a week or two. That's the lawyer. But the Boeing lawyers took the position that no more depositions could be taken until Barnett completed his testimony. And they don't highlight that, but it said that he didn't think that the judge would stand for that, right? But at the end, that's highlighted. For Barnett, passion for the cause surmounted the fatigue of the 2 days of intense questioning. So he told the lawyers, "Let's just get it done. I've been waiting 7 years." And now, unfortunately, we will never know.
I'm in danger.
Unless he recorded something secretly somewhere, and we'll see this. Now, I hope that this won't get us popped somewhere. This is an ABC News report from the local Charleston affiliate, I believe. Let's start this over.
Our investigative reporter Ann Emerson has new information in the death of Boeing whistleblower John Barnett. A close family friend of Barnett says he predicted he might wind up dead, that a story could surface that he killed himself. But he told her, don't believe it. And
I don't hear it.
Tessa, Barnett's family friend Jennifer said they had talked about this exact scenario playing out, but his words seemed like a premonition. He told her, don't ever believe it.
I don't hear it.
First tonight, our investigative reporter Ann Emerson has new information in the death of Boeing whistleblower John Barnett. A close family friend of Barnett says he predicted he might wind up dead, that a story could...
Yep. So basically, yeah, it's the same Jennifer friend, and that was from the ABC News. So they picked that up too. Yeah. So that's a lot of fun. Yeah, Desert Mantis, the FAA always has deferred to Boeing. That is a good point. Just checking to see if anybody's over there on the Rockbins or the Rumbles. Nobody yet. Okay, Rick Solis, how are you, sir? Good to see you, brother. As always, Vicky V.S. Adams, how's everyone? Good to see the whole family. Yes. Teflon Boeing, well, basically, yes, because we know that effectively nobody's really going to investigate this thoroughly. Maybe the family will have this investigated potentially. I don't know. But it's really fishy.
Yep.
It's really suspicious. It's exactly the kind of thing that people like us, quote unquote, that are suspicious of what the U.S. government and the government contractors and all of the big corporations are willing to and do on the regular in order to silence people and make sure that things go off the way they want. And
don't do it, it's bad.
It's very bad. It's real bad. So yeah. All right. We've got our next story here. And before we do, hey, how about that? We've got a couple ways to donate and hook up INN and make sure that this organization keeps running, that we've got the money to pay. Hey, thank you. To pay for Restream, which is our streaming software that everybody uses collectively, and we use Canva in order to make all of our thumbnails and all the artwork and this image that you see right here on screen, actually. And all these people have supported and helped us and helped make that happen, and we really greatly appreciate that. You can do that at any one of those places there. Patreon.com/Indie News Network, IndieNewsNetwork.substack.com. Actually, James re-upped for $5 a month, I believe, or $8 a month this week. Thank you so much for that. Rumble.com/C/Indie News Network. You can drop us a Rumble rant, or you can subscribe there, I believe, monthly. And the fastest, easiest, freest way to get us money is cash.app, or the Cash App /$Indie News Network, or $Indie News Network if you use the Cash App on your phone. Well, we got to let everyone know, and especially if they're on the on the YouTubes or on the podcast, they can't see this. Yes.